What's up, YouTube? Ember1205 here. So today is a little bit different of what I've done in the past in that I did set out to put together a single video for a particular install of an accessory. But what ended up happening is because it's a more involved accessory, there's a lot more prep work that goes into it, that the entire video as a single piece would be somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour long. That's a lot to consume. And I also felt that breaking it up into chunks that would be more aligned with how somebody might take this project on themselves made more sense. So all of the content is available all at the same time. Everything's published on the same day. And in fact, each of the videos will link to the other two. But and as you just probably figured out, there are 3 videos in this series. This is the first. And what we're doing here today is we're going to do in video number 1, we're going to focus on prepping the car itself and test fitting the accessory. Video number 2 is going to focus on prepping the accessory because there's quite a bit of work that has to be done there. And then video number 3 is going to actually focus on the install itself. So as always, please subscribe, like the video, comment, tell me what you do and don't like about what's in there, and also use the comments just as a way to kind of fill me in on some of the other things that you think might be interesting to see. It's not necessarily a guarantee I'm going to be able to do them, but definitely always looking for your suggestions. So pay attention to what's down below because, again, when this is over, videos number 2 and 3 are going to be available for you to continue on. These things are all down into a little bit more consumable of chunks of content, and I hope you like it. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alrighty, so here it is. The product in question for our video today is we are going to dress up the car by extending what we've done with the splitter onto the rockers. So there they are. These are EOS Extreme Online Store. Call them what you would like. But these are their side skirt rockers, ZL1 style, and these are specifically for the 2019 and 2020 Camaros. A lot of folks have put these on a variety of different model years, but what I have found is that most of the folks that have installed these seem to have installed what might be a prior version, and there is apparently some subtle difference, possibly in the body shape of the car. I don't know that for sure. And possibly also in the shape of the side skirts that makes these potentially a better fit. So the other folks that I've seen talking about putting these on their Camaros have largely said that they don't like the way that they fit, and that at the rear portion at least, they have had problems where they've had to kind of press these in hard enough that trying to get them to stick with the tape at that portion basically doesn't work. They set it all up, they leave it with just the tape, they let it sit, they come back the following morning, let's say, and they find that, again, that section at the back has all pulled away. I've already gone through and done a test fit on these. I'm going to show you how to do it as well. I believe that these actually are shaped pretty well to fit up against the contours of the car without a lot of that same sort of issue. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to test fit this, how to position this, how to potentially mark the skirts so that once you've done all the prep work on them, that you can get them back where they need to go and everything else pretty easily. And then we'll move into actually doing the prep on the skirts themselves. And then actually coming back and installing them on the car. So this is going to be shot over multiple videos that through the magic of the internet, you're going to be able to consume it all as one video. But it's going to take some time to actually do all this work, and then I'll edit everything down so that it's going to be cleaner for you to watch. So let's get to discussing actual work that needs to be done to prep everything. All right, so here we go. From a prep standpoint, you guys can tell by looking at the car that it's clean. This did get a thorough hand wash and hand dry, and then it has been sitting. It just happens to have been sitting here without being touched or anything done to it, not driven, for, I want to say, at this point, probably about 48 hours.
I've had some really kind of wet weather here of late, and it's continuing. I don't / won't drive the car in in rain and whatnot, just because it gets the car so dirty so quick. So I'm taking advantage of the bad weather, which is why we're in the garage with the door closed. I'm taking advantage of the bad weather to actually get this done. I've had these skirts for a couple of weeks. I haven't had the continuous time to work on it. So now that I do, I've gone through, like I said, hand wash, hand dry, let everything sit. At this point, it's been 48 hours. So this car is about as dry as it's going to get. So that part is all done. We're going to do a test fit here as well. And then the next thing is that the ground effects have to actually get prepared themselves as well. So these are a molded plastic. What you're going to find is that anything like this, where any of the mold has created any sort of a screw or rivet hole, right? This sort of thing. These tend to not be smooth. So you have to go through in all of the areas where the plastic is going to actually touch up against the car. So this would be the inside. This is the passenger side one here. But any of these places where any of these flat panels or anything are going to touch up against the car, you want to make sure that you go over and kind of clean these up. And I'll show you how I did that. And then all of the areas, and this will be determined as part of the test fitting, all of the areas where it's determined that you have to install tape. And by the way, this kit does not come with tape. I'll get to that a little bit later. And I'll have links for you in the description of the tape that I bought to actually do this install, so that you can get the high bond strength sort of stuff that I used as well. But you have to determine where the tape is going to go, and once you do that, you also have to sand all of this lightly, create a little bit of a scuffing in it so that the tape will adhere nicely to the plastic itself. Then you've got to wipe it all down after you've done all the cleanup work, get all of the particulates off, and then you need to wipe it all down again with what is commonly referred to as IPA, or isopropyl alcohol. You're basically trying to get the surface as clean as you can with a little bit of a scuffing to it, so that when you put the tape on, you get a really, really solid bond. So I'm going to go over all of that in the prep portion, where I take you through actually getting these things completely ready and taped up. Then we'll come back and we'll actually go ahead and put the skirts onto the car, tape only, get them in place, and we're going to let it sit. Again, I've got some bad weather going on that I'm not going to drive the car anyway, so I'm taking advantage of that to give myself up to 48 hours after I install these with only tape to actually bond to the car. And in order to do all of that, as I mentioned, we're going to wipe all this down with isopropyl alcohol. We're going to put the tape on. But when we come back to the car, all of the areas on the bottom of the rocker panel area where this has the potential to adhere to, that also has to be wiped down with IPA as well. Because, again, we need a really, really clean surface there so that the tape is going to be able to bond and actually attach nice and tight. So I'm going to take you from here to the test fit stage, and then we're going to do the prep of the rocker skirts themselves, and then we'll return and put them on the car. So let's go ahead and do some test fitting. All right, for this portion, this is going to just be to test fit the skirt against the car. I happen to have a little bit wider here. This is a 2-inch painter's tape that I'm going to use to help me to kind of hold this into position. I'm not too worried about having it really tight up against the car. Although with no tape anywhere on these, with no tape anywhere on the car, to actually hold these in place like I were mounting them, obviously, the more tightly that it sits in place where I want it to be, the better I'm going to get in terms of a fit overall. But I'm not really focused on trying to get it up tight against the body. This is really something for me to be able to understand where this sits in relation to the front to back position, to possibly be able to mark the skirt so that when I go to install it,
I'm not trying to get everything aligned based on front to back, right? Maybe I've already got some marks on the skirts that I can just simply line up against some things on the car, and it'll make it easier for me to go ahead and put this in place. So I'm going to go ahead and just peel off a couple of pieces of this painter's tape, just so I've got a little something to work with. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab the skirt for the driver's side. Now, in this particular kit, you can differentiate between the driver's and the passenger side skirt in a couple of ways. One of them is, first off, there's a bit of a protrusion, right? It sticks out a little bit further on the rear half. So if you look for that, it's a little more slender up front, and then it protrudes a little more in the latter portion. The other thing is that if you actually look at the contour of the car, you see a little bit of a sweep outward toward the front. So from the fender, where the fender and door meet, from there to the front tire, it protrudes out a little bit. It's kind of a gentle sweep. It doesn't come out very far, maybe about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. On the rear, however, it's a lot more aggressive and it comes out a lot further. It also starts a lot earlier. So you can just kind of match these contours and curves up pretty easily to tell which part's front and which part is rear. I've actually already kind of held this up and test fitted to get a sense of how everything seems to fit, and it's not bad. It's closer than I would have expected based on some of the reviews that I've read. So I kind of know where this is going to go, but you know, there's still likely going to be some room for adjustment. So I'm just going to lift it up. I'm going to tack it, if you will, to kind of hold it, and then I'll come back and do a little bit of repositioning. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these pieces of tape and I'm going to slip it underneath, kind of up in this area. And I'm going to leave probably about 3-4 inches of tape protruding on the inside, and I'm going to leave, looks like probably about 8 or 10 inches that I can wrap around and use to hold it on the outside as well. So I'll get this up there. I'm going to do the same thing for the back end, and then I can actually, you know, kind of shift it a little bit, make some little adjustments, and get a more accurate position, and go from there. So again, on the back, I am doing this very close to the back end of the skirt itself, because I don't want to try and position this on these hard panel edges here. It's a little bit smoother here, so I think I'll have a little bit easier of a time getting it to actually hold on these smoother surfaces. So as far as I've got this set right now, I have the back edge pretty much flush with the back edge of the actual rocker panel itself. The front edge has maybe 1/8 of an inch exposed. I'll never get this flush based on what I'm seeing, because it's at a slightly different sort of curvature. So the wheel well comes around and kind of continues that curvature off the bottom, whereas this is a little bit more just kind of flush vertical. So I'm not going to worry about trying to line this up, because I don't think it ever will anyway. And I am considering looking into putting some rock guards on here, some mud guards, if you will, mud flaps, whatever you know them as. And a little bit of extra space right here to position that rock guard might actually be helpful. So what I see, I'll go ahead and give you the quick tour here. Let me go ahead and snap the phone out of the holder, and we'll go take a closer look. But, you know, you watched me, right? I didn't do anything special, and yet I've got a fairly good follow of the contour here. Now, when we get we get here to the back, there's some gap here. No question that there's a gap. This could be what folks are talking about when they're talking about the fact that they had to push it in too hard. But quite honestly, if you're using a real high bond tape like what I have, as long as you keep pressure applied to it, it should bond and hold really well. So basically what I'm finding here is that I can simply line this up here, pretty much with the back edge. I don't have to worry about what that means. So when it comes time to actually install this right on the car, I don't see where I've really got much of an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off, get them. I'm actually going to take them inside and get to work on prepping them themselves so I can bring them back out and actually install them on the car. So let's go do the prep work on these, get them cleaned up and taped up.